Class, welcome to week 4. We will be focusing on choosing a site builder and choosing a host. Up until now, we've been focused on business models and preparing and assessing different business ideas. We're going to transition now to focus on your website. That'll be the makeup of project 2. First of all, don't forget the project 1 is due this week. So if you have not started on that and you're watching this video, I recommend you stop the video and start right away. It is a little bit more involved, and so you're going to want to set aside enough time to finish that up this week. Let's start with your first topic, choosing a site builder. And there's different levels of complexity, levels of involvement, depending on your experience with website building in the past. The 3 types of website builders we recommend are 1, drag and drop builders, which are your most basic, 2, content management systems, which are a little bit more complex, and then 3, essentially a build from scratch platform, which I would recommend only if you have experience with that in the past, as it is a large endeavor. The drag and drop builders are fairly straightforward. As the name implies, you can develop a template, and then if you want different elements, you'll just drag them onto the screen. They're meant to be easy to use. They don't have a lot of flexibility, but for your initial website build and your initial business, they're usually great products. I've used a lot of them: Weebly, Wix, Webs in particular. So there are plenty of options. I invite you to go try them out, see what works for you. Some of them have hosting already built in. We'll get into hosting as our second topic, but some of them have hosting built in to them. We treat it as a separate product in this class, just so you see the difference. But just know if you're going to purchase, say, Wix.com website, then you wouldn't purchase separate hosting. It uses Wix hosting. So you want to look at that as you are deciding on a site builder platform. And then keep in mind, as you look through these, you will need some sort of payment functionality on your website, whether that's Google Ads that can generate revenue. Most of you will do a PayPal or a PayPal type function on your website. And some of these, like Wix, require a purchase of a more expensive package in order to do that. So keep that in mind as you're looking through different options. Content management systems are a little bit more complex in the sense that they offer some ability to put in HTML and CSS code to customize your website, but they can be really powerful tools if you're comfortable in that space. I do not recommend WordPress.org. I can't stress that enough. I've used it. I've built websites in that, but students just tend to struggle with WordPress, integrating analytics and some of the other obligations in the course. If you love WordPress and you swear by it, then by all means, you're welcome to it. But every semester I will have students that struggle with WordPress. It's a very well-known platform, and so students are drawn to it. But WordPress is moving more and more towards having control over every element of their site, including Google Analytics, Google Ads. They can be really challenging to integrate with WordPress, so keep that in mind. And then finally, the build from scratch editors. I've done this as well. It is time consuming. It's thrilling to be able to just take a blank space and design it exactly how you want. But again, unless you've had experience in that and are very comfortable coding a website, I don't recommend going down this path. So for this assignment, you'll analyze different options, write a brief essay comparing 3 tools. Make sure you state which one of the 3 tools you chose and why you chose it. And then you'll also do a quantify and compare spreadsheet to analyze those three tools. Then of course you'll have your discussion board about choosing a site builder here, as well as your replies. There's project one due same day as your discussion board replies. Next we'll go to choosing a host, and again, many of those platforms that I just mentioned will integrate hosting, so you may not have to choose a separate host. You'll still go through this exercise anyway to understand the process that goes into hosting. Think about a lot of students will ask, what is hosting? Hosting is purchasing the actual space on the internet. And so your files will be on a server with one of these companies. These companies have many servers, oftentimes in different places throughout the world, and so that creates space to store your website content and then make it available to the world at large through the internet. So that's what you're purchasing when you purchase hosting, is you're purchasing actual space on a server that will make that content accessible to the internet. So you'll go through and consider different options when choosing a host. There's a lot of different things to consider: customer service and price. I'll tell you, the overall performance of hosting companies, I've used a lot of different hosting companies. I haven't seen the performance vary that much. I don't think it's a challenging thing to make sure your content is accessible 24 hours a day. Some of them do crash on occasion, but I really haven't had a bad experience with a hosting company. It's been more a question of customer service, so you might want to keep that in mind. And then you'll do a very similar approach as the last assignment: create a quantify and compare spreadsheet, and then a Word document answering these questions. So make sure each of these questions is answered in your Word document, as opposed to the last assignment, in which the essay was a little bit more free form. You'll want to answer these exact questions on this assignment. So you'll have your discussion board after that, and then let's jump into project 2. Project 2 is where you will actually create your website. So there are some examples. There's a good video on here that kind of walks you through some examples, and next week we will do further assignments that will help prepare you to build your website and decide on a design and whatnot. So this is project 2 is baked into the assignments a bit. So you'll go through, you have 5 tasks, and so you want to obtain a host, choose a site builder, choose a domain name. The domain name can be challenging nowadays. All the good ones are either used by companies or they've been purchased by domain name investors. So it's challenging to find a short, memorable domain name. There's some domain name generators, if you Google those, domain name generators or domain name finders, that will help you in that process if you're really struggling. But you want to put some thought into choosing a domain name. It can affect how easily it is to find your content online. Then you'll create the website. It's really just about the basic structure. You don't have to have a polished website for this project. And then the last part is you'll need to enable your site so transactions can be done on your website, which is one of 3 ways typically. You'll integrate your site with PayPal so it can take credit cards. If you're using Swipe or another platform, that will also work. You can become an affiliate with another company so that when somebody clicks on a product and purchases it, you receive some form of compensation. Or you can put Google AdSense on your website. Any of those 3 will work for task 5. And what I'm going to be looking for is really just an assessment. Let me move the screen down a little bit so you can see. On 3 items, I'm going to look for its own domain name. That means it doesn't say your domain name .wixsites.com or .weebly.com. That's not an independent domain name. You actually have to purchase the domain name. So it says mybusiness.com or whatever your domain name is. So you want an independent domain name. You'll need most of the necessary pages, navigational links, some attempted design. Again, I'm looking for basic structure, not a polished website. I want to see where you're going with it, essentially. And then integration of third party to enable financial transactions, which is this task 5. If you get all 3 of those, there's 50 points. If you get 2 of the 3, there's 44 points. And if you get 1 of the 3, there's 39 points. So it's really straightforward. When I'm looking at your website, that's what I'm looking for, is which of those elements do you have, which of those elements do you not have, and then I'll base your points off of that. And then just the weekly reflection, and that will be it for week 4.